Hey everybody, Shawn here from the Automation Blog and School, and in this episode of the Automation Podcast, I sit down with RC Crosby from P&F to learn all about the world's first safety-rated ultrasonic sensor. Ron, thank you for coming on the Automation Podcast to talk about P&F's USi-Safety device, the ultrasonic safety device. It's a new device, if I understand it correctly, from your company, and it looks really cool, so I'm really looking forward to learning more about that today.
Yeah, Shawn, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Now, before we jump right into your presentation, could you just tell our audience who you are and what your role is at P&F?
Absolutely. So, like you said, my name is RC Crosby. I go by RC. You can call me Ron. Either one's fine. Um, I have 20 years of experience in the industrial automation space, mostly on the sensor side and machine safeguarding side. 10 years with machine safeguarding specifically. I've been with P&F now this past 7 years. So, yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Pepperl+Fuchs, been in business over 75 years. We have over 6,000 employees worldwide. We are known for industrial automation hardware, also process automation solutions as well. I don't do that. That's a whole nother division. If you have interest in process automation solutions, you can feel free to reach out to me after this presentation. My contact information will be on the last slide, and I'll get you pointed in the right direction. As I stated before, we have great possibilities in both of these segments. We invented the inductive proximity sensor. We also invented the first intrinsically safe circuit. And we've been in the Western Hemisphere now since 1980, so we have a good presence over here.
Just out of curiosity, where's your U.S. office located?
It's just outside of Cleveland in a little town called Twinsburg. And we also have a fully automated distribution center just outside of Houston, Texas, in Katy. Before we jump into the USI, just a little bit about our generic portfolio. Consists of everything from inductive sensors, photoelectric sensors, ultrasonics, encoders, inclination, LiDAR, all the cabling, accessories, connectivity you need to make those things go. We also do positioning systems, barcode, RFID. So just a little smattering of the full offering that we do. However, recently we have transitioned into a little bit more of network communications. We have been players in industrial communication through things of IO-Link and AS interface for many years now, but we've come out with some new products, including managed and unmanaged network switches, serial gateways, Ethernet modules, and edge gateways. And the last thing I'll touch on before I jump into the USI is the full safety product portfolio. We have over 700 SIL-rated and PL-assessed devices, light curtain safety switches, positioning systems, encoders, and now the world's only safety-rated inductive sensor. I'll highlight one other thing. We do have a team of people who are applying non-safe products to low-level safe applications. So that's kind of a unique thing that we offer as well.
So you guys have sent us a bunch of samples, and they're the classic green and black for P&F, right? Are all your safety products yellow? Is that how we can tell that these are fail-safe or safety-rated products?
For the most part, yes. Try to be along the lines of the industry standard with those. You can see the inductives there on the kind of lower left of that first rung there. They have yellow faces, not to be confused with some of our competitors, but we just try and fall in line with the generally accepted patterns in the market. So that brings us to the USI, the world's only safe ultrasonic sensor on the market. So for reference, I'll show you what the actual unit is physically. So you can just see it's not terribly big, against the size of my hand. The evaluation unit is rather small, as well as the transducer. The transducer is very small, very good footprint, especially for installation at, say, the end of a fork on a forklift. You see it's roughly an inch by 3/8 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch tall. So again, the footprint is very, very compact.
Yeah, it looks like it's about the size of a matchbox. I mean,
Yeah.
if, from what I'm seeing, I mean, it is very small.
They come in two lengths. So the transducer cables come in two lengths, either 1.5 meters or, as I have here, 3 meters. So great for size restrictions. The evaluation unit gives you two independent channels, redundant. So they each fulfill ISO 13849 up to a category 3 performance level D with proper installation and wiring methods. Perfect for outdoor and harsh environments. It's kind of what it was created for, kind of to fill that void where some of the light-based and LiDAR technologies fail outside with dust, dirt, and environmental concerns. These devices, the algorithm has a built-in synchronization feature, so you can either ignore crosstalk, so that doesn't happen. They don't talk to each other if you have several AGVs with these installed. Or you can synchronize them and cover a wider protection area. And the other unique feature is this ultrasonic, it has an elliptical sound beam. So that's also unique. Just a little basic overview on ultrasonic technology. If you're not familiar with it, it just pulses a sound wave and it listens for a return echo. So because it's sound, if it can get a clean echo, the things in the way don't really matter. So dust, mist, etc. doesn't matter. I'll just break down the individual parts of the system. Starting with the evaluation unit, it's the yellow box in the middle of the screen, which I just held up a few seconds ago. Within it, you have the two microcontrollers per channel to give you that redundancy, to give you that single fault tolerance according to EN ISO 13849, category 3 PLD. Each channel has two safe OSSD outputs, as well as a non-safe signal output for your warning zone. So you can set up a protected zone and a warning zone. From there, we go to the transducers. As I showed you earlier, they're very small, very compact. They come in 1.5 meters or 3 meter length of cable, so to get you out to your protected zone, away from the evaluation unit. And we also sell mounting brackets, should that be something that makes your life easier. There's also available a temperature sensor. Although it is not safe, it is necessary if you have this going into areas that may have fluctuations of 20 degrees or greater. And that just helps the sound cone compensate for those swings in temperatures. The other part of this, as you see on the computer screen, is on the laptop on the screen, is the programming software. It's very easy, very intuitive. Once you've set your parameters, you release the sensor to the safety application, and then it will generate the paperwork you need to put with your risk assessment at the machine. So it will help provide the safety documentation for your application. We'll just highlight the evaluation unit just a little harder. Like I said, there are two microcontrollers inside of each one of these channels that monitors the sensors, the two transducers. You can use two transducers. You can use one. That's not required for the redundancy. It's just whether or not you need two for your application. And because you have the redundant microcontrollers, the redundant outputs per channel, you do get the EN ISO 13841, 13849 for the application for PLD. And like I said, you still get that additional non-safe output for signaling for the warning zone as well. And just to clarify, the evaluation unit is not a safety controller. It's not a safety relay. It does output OSSDs, so it does require you to hook that up to a safe PLC, which can handle OSSD outputs, or a safety relay that can handle OSSD outputs to complete the safety function, to complete the monitoring of the safety function.
All right, so just that's an important takeaway.
Yeah.
This unit will need either a safety relay or safety PLC to go with it because it's outputting the OSSD outputs. And I think another thing, just to reiterate, is you do not actually have to have two sensors. That's only if you had two areas that you needed the sense. But that's not required for the operation. If you only had a single area, you only need a single sensor, it still be safety rated, correct?
Correct. Absolutely. So each channel carries its own safety rating. Next, we'll dive into the transducers themselves a little bit. Again, as I noted earlier, the uniqueness of the elliptical sound beam gives you 3D area coverage at angles of 17, plus or minus 17 and plus or minus 5 degrees. So at the widest point, around 1.5 meters away from the transducer face, you have a sound code width of about 320 millimeters by 800 millimeters, as you can see on the little graph. But I'll blow up the graph in just a second. Again, small housing, small footprint, small installation footprint, high IP rating of IP69K. So it's perfect for outdoor, perfect for wet environments as far as the transducer is concerned. And because of the uniqueness of the elliptical sound cone, you can get that thing turned to where it's just off the floor or just off a flat surface, but yet still parallel to it. So you can get really tight, good coverage up against hard stops, if you will. Here's a little bit better representation of the sound cone. You can see the red being that wider sound cone that comes out of the short side. It's a little counterintuitive, but the wider cone comes out of the shorter side and the smaller cone comes out of the longer side. As you see the breakdown of the 320 millimeters and the largest by the 800 at range. So here's a little snapshot of the programming software. It's very, very, very intuitive, very easy commissioning with that. Basically, you set your distances either to what it sees or what you think you have. So if you say, okay, well, I want this to be the warning field to be set at 1.5 meters and the protective field to start at 1 meter, you can just type those figures in centimeters. So, 100 centimeters and 1,500 centimeters respectively. Or you can just use what the device sees as and just use that for commissioning as well. Like I said before, once you release the software, the sensor to the application, you've set your parameters. Now you've released the application. It will generate the documentation you need to put with your risk assessment, to put with the manuals of the machine, for all your proper documentation. Another really nice thing is, should you decide to go with the USi, we'll provide this software at no extra charge because it needs to go with your application. Nice. It is application by application. So in with some of our other software, if you're familiar with us, you can set up a bunch of sensors at one time and just hit to send, and really it takes you as long to plug in the M12 as it is to click send and save to the sensor. In this case, you have to do it one by one and go through the full steps each and every time. That's a part of the safety certification, so we can't really skirt that. So, yeah, it's a little bit time consuming there, but in the end, that's how we achieve the safety rating.
A lot of industries will require documentation based on how it was set up. Is there a way using this software to save documentation so that you can say, this is how I set it up and these are the settings? Does it have any type of report printing capability?
Absolutely. So that's what you get in the last step. And so I would recommend at least 3 sets of that, kind of one with the risk. Everywhere you have a risk assessment on that machine, and also one in HR. That's where I would have it, but for sure that has that capability. Now, I want to clarify one thing. You don't have to have the software anywhere loaded in like the PLC or anything like that. It doesn't need the software to run. You need the software to commission it and print the documentation. Just a few of the applications that we foresee for the USI, obviously AGVs and interlogistics, forklifts especially. These things fit perfectly at the end of your forks on a forklift. Obviously AGVs, especially any AGV that's going outside or sort of going in and out of environment, say cold storage, where you could get lens fogging on some of the light-based devices that aren't internally heated. Uh, Robotics for armature anti-collision there, making sure that that's the case. So we think this is a great device for collision avoidance and presence detection.
Especially
Uh,
where it's outdoors or dusty, where applications where light-based sensors are going to have a really difficult time. I see where you're going with that.
Absolutely. Foundries, wood mills, so sawdust. Yeah, all those types of environments where the traditional light based or LiDAR based scanner technologies struggle. This is absolutely a product that could shine in those applications. I don't love this product for perimeter guarding because it doesn't set a fixed edge. However, you could use this device for perimeter guarding, especially for approach warning. So Jeff, definitely give, hey, you're straying too close to the light curtain or to the safety mat or whatever, just to kind of pre-rule out any kind of mindless, just sort of inner working around the machine.
I understand that because if you trip the light curtain, typically the system has to stop. So you want
Absolutely.
to avoid that at all possibility. So I get where you're going with that. If you can have a pre-warning to say, you need to stop now because otherwise you're stopping production and that's bad. I get that.
Absolutely. So it's a great device for that, but it doesn't set a hard edge like the light curtain, right? And so because it is sound based and has, yeah, you just can't say, yeah, you can set it for a meter and a half or 2 meters and you can set it there, but it may be within a centimeter or that, as far as that fixed edge actually being. So it's better in those types of environments to use a light curtain or to use hard guarding for a fixed edge where you have to use a fixed edge, and do your safety distance calculations and those types of things.
But in these applications we're looking on the screen, the light curtains just would not work. So, for instance, it's not practical. Those other, you can't use guarding on a AGV because this thing's moving around. It's battery powered. It's doing its own thing. So that's where this really shines. I can, it's robotics too. It's moving around. I mean, you can protect the robot itself with a light curtain, but if you have an area where things are constantly changing, then having this on the arm of the robot gives you that extra sensing to make sure the arm doesn't go somewhere that where there's something already exists.
Exactly. Hopefully, at that point in time, you're not worried about safeguarding against people, but because hopefully by that case, there's either a safety mat down or light curtains down or hard guarding down. And right now, right in that instance, you're really concerned with making sure that arm doesn't strike something. It
Yeah,
might have dropped a load or something like that, and you're just making sure it doesn't hit it.
making sure you don't damage product or other equipment that may be stalled or get stuck. And it's already inside of the safety area. It's not a person; it's a piece of equipment. It got stalled, and so you don't want your very expensive robot arm to whack into it. And this gives you that ability.
Absolutely. The other thing I like this device for that people it doesn't come naturally or when people think about man machine safeguarding, but as a presence detection device, we always use machine safeguarding products to make sure people don't go to an area they're not supposed to be in. We can also use this to make sure the operator stays in the area that they're supposed to be in. So we want to make sure you could use this to sort of cover the console to say, okay, while the machine's running, the operator is at the console or in the safe area around the console or whatever designated safe area that's there, and use it as not necessarily a deterring device, but just as a status operational device, if you will. So think about like a roller coaster platform. So now the operator, he's at his console, sends the car on the run, on the roller coaster, but you still don't want him walking around the platform while the roller coaster is in operation. So you could use that to monitor either that he's sitting at the console or that the ride platform is still clear. You could do both. In that case, you could do both. So you make sure the platform is clear, but also the operator's standing in the spot he's supposed to be in.
Yeah, I can definitely see a lot of, especially in those public spaces, where if a ride, for instance, is running, nobody can be in a certain line of queue, a certain space in the queue, or in the exit area. So, people need to exit before the ride can start again. And if somebody's loitering, you can, alarm and let the operator know that, hey, everybody has not exited yet. There's still people hanging out in the exit area. So I see where you're going with that. Lots of applications. It could be an expensive batching operation where it requires, a human to be there and monitor the temperature and pressure as the batch is being created. And, especially in the case of unique batches where no two are going to be the same. So you need him at the console. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. Well, that is the USI in a nutshell. My contact information is on the screen. You can feel free to reach out to me, and we have demo units set up all over the country. I'll be happy to talk with you about that. Shawn, any further questions?
No, I would just let the folks know if you want to contact RC and want to talk to him about it more. Check out the show notes. I'll make sure I put his contact information in the show notes and give him a buzz. But with that, I just want to thank you, RC, for coming on the show and telling us all about the new USi Safety Ultrasonic Sensor, the first safety ultrasonic sensor on the market today. And just really want to thank you for coming on the show.
Shawn, I want to thank you for having me. I want to thank your listeners for listening to me. This is fantastic. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I want to thank RC for coming on the show and giving us that product update. Now, if you're watching on YouTube or the Automation blog, please give us a like and a sub. And if you're listening to the audio-only edition, then please consider giving us a 5-star rating, because that helps us not only find more listeners, but also get new vendors to come on the show. With that said, you can always follow me over at automation.locals.com, and you can support me there too and engage in our Q&A section over there. That said, all my courses, you can find them over at theautomationschool.com. And with that, I want to wish you all a very safe, happy, and healthy week. And until next time, my friends, peace.